Alright guys, Jameson and Alex here. Today we're going to be covering the Bestial Shift Conclave Ranger from DM Stash. More about them coming later, but if you're new to the channel, what we're going to do is go through all the abilities gained in the subclass. We're going to rate the roleplay, combat, and synergy based on how the abilities gained in the subclass improve on the base class abilities.
That's right.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to be entered in our D&D Beyond Players Bundle giveaway.
Free stuff is wonderful.
All that being said, let's get right into it.
All right, the meat of what this entire subclass is built around is your bestial form. Starting at 3rd level, as a bonus action, you can transform into your bestial form. This form lasts for 10 minutes. You can speak, use equipment, and wear armor in this form. You can revert to your normal form earlier by using a bonus action. On your turn, you automatically revert to your normal form if you fall unconscious, drop to 0 hit points, or die outright. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency modifier. You do regain all the expended uses when you finish a long rest. While in your bestial form, you do gain the following benefits. Your unarmed strikes are considered a finesse weapon, meaning you could use dexterity for the attack and damage rolls. The weapon deals 1d4 slashing damage. The damage of your unarmed strikes increases as you gain ranger levels, not just character levels. That's important. And the unarmed strike dice becomes a d6 at level 5, d8 at level 11, and a d10 at level 17. Your unarmed strikes can be flavored, claws, bite, kick, however you want to as far as that goes. You also have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. And while you are not wearing heavy armor or wielding a shield, you do gain +1 to your armor class, and you gain advantage on wisdom perception checks that rely on hearing or smell.
To continue with that, when you choose the Conclave, you choose an animal to resemble your bestial form when you gain the feature. You cannot change the animal once you have chosen it, so it is a permanent decision, so make sure you choose wisely. There are 2 options with this, and you do get some minor physical traits associated with the chosen animal, such as growth of body hair, if you choose the bear form.
Yes.
So speaking of the bear form, which is one option, when you're in your bestial form, you gain the sheer power of a bear. You count as 1 size larger when determining carry capacity and the weight you can push, drag, or lift, and you gain a climbing speed equal to your walking speed. The second option is the wolf, if you're looking for a more agile option. While in this bestial form, you gain the speed and agility of a wolf. While in this form, your walking speed increases by 10 feet. And as you level up in this class, there are additional benefits that add on to either form, whichever one you choose.
Yep. Also, when we hit our level 3, we do get those extra ranger spells. They count as ranger spells for you, but don't go against a number of ranger spells. We get Disguise Self, Alter Self, Haste, Polymorph, and Far Step.
There you go. Level 7, we get Magic Shred. Your unarmed strikes in your bestial form are considered magical for overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks. Furthermore, you gain advantage on saving throws against the frightened and charmed conditions. So, a little bit of offensive bonus and a little bit of defensive protection.
That's right. At 11, we also get Bestial Strikes. You gain a different benefit based on which of the forms you chose. In the wolf form, all slashing damage you deal while in your bestial form hemorrhages your victims. Your target suffers half of the damage dealt by your unarmed strikes as piercing damage at the end of its next turn. If you're in your bear form, while you're in your bestial form and use the attack action on your turn, you can shove or grapple as a bonus action. When you shove or grapple a creature, they take damage equal to 1 roll of your unarmed strike dice. So it's like your just raw strength causes extra damage to them as you wrestle around with them.
So before we get to the capstone, just a quick shout out to DM Stash as they're sponsoring the video. A little bit more information about them. Their primary thing here is with minis, but they are starting to add campaigns with subclass options, character options every month. So with that, each month they're going to get a new set of STL files for your 3D printers. You can order physical minis, but their primary thing is print on demand. Very high quality, very detailed.
Beyond gorgeous.
And again, too, we're having a new campaign and new subclasses in every campaign, new battle maps, new regions, stat blocks, magic items, every campaign, every month. This month's is focusing on the Mammoth Isle and the mysterious undead that are thawing and coming to take over. So if you're looking for a full kind of experience, you're going to get all the stuff you need, including the files for the minis as well.
Specifically, the dragon that's in there is wild. It looks incredible. So there's 12 of these models listed in there and around the undead themes and everything. And the other thing I thought was I did not expect to see were the 2 bust models. So it's not just not a full figure. It's just, chest up, and they're scalable. So you can do different sizes. If you're somebody who's got access to 3D printing, you can do a mini-sized one, or if you want to have just like a on your desk, like bust of like a lich, boom, there he is. They're also doing a new Snow Domain Cleric, which has my attention because I love cold things.
So guys, go ahead and check out the link down below to get DM Stash. Again, new stuff coming every month, so check them out, follow them, stay tuned for more. So, moving on to the capstone for the Bestial Mastery. You can shift into your bestial form as a reaction upon taking damage while in your humanoid form. Furthermore, once per short or long rest when you are in your bestial form and take damage that reduces you below half of your hit point maximum, gain temporary hit points equal to your ranger level plus your constitution modifier plus your proficiency bonus. You gain the following benefits for the animal you resemble in your bestial form. If you are a wolf in your bestial form, you have advantage on attack rolls against a creature if at least one other of your allies is within 5 feet of the creature and isn't incapacitated. So, pack tactics.
Yep.
Or if you are a bear in your bestial form, any creature within 5 feet of you that is hostile to you has disadvantage on all attack rolls against targets other than you or another creature with this feature. The enemy is immune to this feature if it can't be frightened. So it's kind of like protection.
Pretty much.
So you get some nice little options and utility on top of a ton of health that you can regain with temp HP. All that being said, we'll move on into the rating portion of the video. First up is the roleplay asterisk, as always. Talking about roleplay, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order. Not talking about your class fantasy, history, lore, background, that's on you as a player. We can't rate you, but we can rate the abilities gained in the subclass and how they might improve your potential in those roleplay scenarios.
That's right.
So, all of that being said, looking at the roleplay on here, you do get some options, right? So obviously if you choose a wolf or a bear, you're going to have different types of roleplay that could be taken advantage of.
Sure.
For example, with a bear, you're getting, strength, pushing, pulling, moving stuff, getting the bonus to your perception bonus, getting your strength checks and saving throws can definitely come into play in the roleplay side of things. On top of that, we have stuff for if you want to go for the agile wolf or the strong bear, there's things that are going to go along with that, like your movement speed. Also, with your spells that you have some decent options for some RP, especially with Disguise Self, Alter Self, Polymorph. Even Far Step can come into play for exploration and things like that. But very thematic as well with those. I mean, it's altering your form, altering your shift. So going along with that is very interesting. There is, on top of that, the advantage for Charmed and Frightened can come into play, though that is a little bit more on the niche side of things. Yeah. So, because with that, I mean, a lot of times when you start getting to Charmed and especially Frightened, it usually is falling into or about to get into combat when it comes to Frightened. Charmed can be definitely more on a social side of things.
It's the whole frightened concept kind of flows like along with intimidation to me. Like, well, if you're doing an intimidation check, it doesn't quite get to frightened, and there's a weird like button up against. Right. Like frightened becomes almost like the combat version of like intimidation kind of thing. Yeah. They're scared of you, intimidated by you kind of thing.
So overall, there are some decent options. A little bit on the niche side. So all of that being said, we went with a 3 out of 5 for the roleplay. Falls a little bit more on the situational side of things.
On the combat side of things are definitely more interesting and more potent because that's where this definitely has a bigger focus on. And again, if you've watched our channel enough, you know how much we like options and choices and versatility. And it's not common that you get subclasses where you can have 2 different people playing the exact same subclass in class that play it 2 completely different ways. Or like, Totem Warrior Barbarian has the different totems between each one. So you can have 2 different one of those and pick a different totem and they could be completely different as far as the subclass abilities. Same thing here. You can go for the more defensive, grappler, in-your-face bear. You can have the agile, eventually getting pack tactics, wolf form. Either way, it feels very druid-like what it gives definitely. You. And the reliable damage of those unarmed strikes that do get the ability to get around immunity to non-magical attacks and resistances and things like that. And, if you're not wearing heavy armor, which is as base ranger, you're not going to have heavy armor. So, medium armor and getting no shield, so +1 AC, so that feels good just to have you a little bit more willing to be in there slapping stuff around. You're going to get that extra AC. is never a bad thing. And the advantage on strength checks and saving throws, too. So you're getting a third saving throw proficiency that is not common for a lot of people to be able to have access to. So again, being involved in there with this, with grapple checks being based on strength, it allows you to do that and be proficient in it, even though you're not looking to have a lot of strength normally. So you can still get the defensive side of things up, even if you don't want to focus on the offensive side with the strength build, because they do count for your finesse weapons.
Yes.
On your unarmed strikes that you're using. Whichever form you go with, you're going to be getting more movement speed or the ability to, drag and pull and get the climbing speeds where that's going to come in with combat. So you're able to get up into a tree and pounce on something. Be kind of fun. As you start combat, it's like bury out of tree, just jumps down on somebody. Would be great. Of course, polymorph is a great CC spell to have access to. Yeah, you are a half caster, but still, you can, if you wanted just to polymorph this dude into a sheep over there, and it's like he's now useless for a little bit. It's similar to banishment, instead of them being gone every plane, they're now useless, which is great because as a what's the right word here? A mantra of our friendly DM here is something that's very huge with 5th edition is the action economy. And if you have ways to mess with the action economy by just removing somebody from the opposing side like that, or if they remove one of your people from there, it really can be a huge swing in battle, even just for a turn or two. Then I'm burying the lead a little bit. You get access to haste. You don't normally have access to haste. So that is exactly what it is. The wolf bleed form is nothing crazy, but it does give you a nice bump to your floor damage.
Yeah.
And which rangers are already good at. So it kind of leans further into this, high floor, which can be really good and reliable, especially if you've come from playing a full caster where it's a lot of all or nothings on spells, or you throw this, or they make my saving throw every freaking time because I'm fighting CR18s and they have legendary resistances and all this junk. So that high floor thing seems really, really nice. If you go with the bear form, you have the ability to, grapple as a bonus action when you hit somebody, or you can shove them and then they take damage as part of that too, instead of just having to spend the whole bit just to get the grapple in. The extra damage is great. A lot going on. And then finally with the capstone, that one-off heal per short rest is a pretty beefy heal that's not costing you a spell slot, which you normally have access to some heals as a ranger, but that feels wonderful. Pack tactics in wolf form. Is it anything exciting? No. Is it effective? Absolutely. It's fantastic, especially if you can pair up alongside a barbarian, a paladin, a fighter. They're both you just two-man something to death with the 17,000 attacks, and it's wonderful. And if you wanted to be the bigger, beefier option with the bear, also a viable play, especially if you don't have a paladin, fighter, barbarian in the party, you need more bulk up front, you have the option to kind of lean that way. So because of the options, you can kind of play it two different ways, and both forms have their own version of viability. Limited by maybe the ceiling isn't incredibly high with these options, but it's, again, there's two options that have, we think, very high floors. We ended up with a 4 out of a possible 5 flumps for the combat side of things.
Yes, and kind of just transitioning into synergy for some notes as well with this. There are some limitations with it. Obviously, you only have proficiency uses per day, which, to be honest, you probably aren't going to have more than 4, 5, 6 combats in a day anyways. Yes, I know there's the 8 combats a day, 8 encounters a day, but they're not going to all be combats necessarily. So it does give you some extra leeway, especially with 10 minutes for the form instead of 1 minute. So that way you can kind of stay in form after, or get into form preemptively for a combat. So you can maybe have RP before or after, or have those extra bonuses for stuff, especially with things like perception. But there is some really good internal synergy with the way things scale. Your unarmed strikes are going to be scaling up. You're going to be getting additional benefits as you level up in the class through either form. So there is a lot built around these things. But because of the limitations a little bit on there, you do get some interesting spells as well that go with this. But things like polymorph, for example, you're a ranger. So first off, you're a half caster. Second of all, wisdom is not going to be your primary stat, so the save isn't going to be incredible for it. So it might end up being more of an RP use for polymorph, or maybe you polymorph an ally, to give them some health, kind of, because it can kind of work as a pseudo heal. Someone's going to die, you give them polymorph into a T-Rex or something, then it's like, I don't know, you get you can't do what you normally can do, but at least you're not going to die. So you get some health. So there's some ways to do that. Maybe more on an allied kind of supporty role for that.
But all the reason why like haste still works wonderfully because there's no saving throw for that.
Right, exactly. And then the other stuff, alter self, disguise self, fall more into role play. So it's not quite as big a deal for those as well. But all that being said, since there is really good internal synergy, but at the same time it's all reliant on those things and there is limited uses for those, we went with a 3.5 out of 5 for the synergy side. Still pretty solid, but again, it's all when you tie so many abilities around one class or subclass feature, it's like when you are no longer able to use that feature or you're hesitant to use that feature.
Yeah.
Because like in certain circumstances, like if you're in town or something, maybe you don't want to transform into a big bear. It might not go the best for you,
right.
Depending on how things are going on in circumstances. So for some of those kind of things, it can make things maybe almost a little bit too reliant on one single ability. Yeah. But at the same time, it does scale really well.
It does.
So hit that right in that middle of the pack. Yeah. That'd be around the bush for that. But yeah, that's all for today, guys. There's lots of cool, awesome, interesting stuff on DM Stash. Make sure you check out their Patreon, their website. We'll have links down below for that. Again, high quality minis at the very least. Yeah. Campaign settings, subclasses. Going to be more character and adventure stuff coming from them.
Snow Druid. No, Snow Cleric. Not Snow Druid. Snow Cleric. Yeah.
Snow Cleric. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one to check out for sure. So, link down below for that. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you know when all of our new videos are coming out. And as always, guys, thanks